We will formally begin with today's session. Okay. So once again, a very good morning to all the attending members. Thank you very much for connecting with us in time. And as you can see, our honorable guest for this session, Dr. G.K. Avari sir, who happens to be head of the Department of Automobile Engineering in NBA accredited Government Polytechnic College of Nagpur, has already joined us, and we are about to start the session. So I welcome you all with all my heart to attend the third day of this short-term training program, which is sponsored by All India Council for Technical Education and organized by Ballarpur Institute of Technology, Ballarpur, on the topic biotechnology and its application in tribal agriculture areas. So welcome all of you, and I also welcome our honorable resource person for this session, Dr. G.K. Avari sir. Before we proceed with the session, it is really important that we introduce our resource person to you. So Dr. G.K. Avari sir has received BE degree from Rashtrasant Tukadoji Maharaj Nagpur University and ME degree from Thapar University, Patiala, Punjab, both in mechanical engineering. He has done his PhD in computational fluid dynamics from SG Amravati University in the year 2007. He has total 25 years of teaching experience at undergraduate, postgraduate, and research level, and 10 years of experience as an approved principal of TGP CET Nagpur, an engineering college which is affiliated to Rashtrasant Tukadoji Maharaj Nagpur University. His skills are being strengthened due to important experience at Sri Santa Gajanan Maharaj College of Engineering, Shegao. He is recognized by All India Council for Technical Education as Margadarshak for NBA accreditation of Menti Institutes. Recently, he has also been empaneled as a member in AICTE expert team. He has 3 patents and 1 product developed for Mahindra and Mahindra Nagpur to his name. He has total 19 Scopus Index journals and 213 citations, 33 international publications, 22 international conference publications, and 11 national conference publications. He has authored total 8 books. 2 books are with CRC Press, Taylor and Francis Group, London, and others are also with renowned international publishers like Mercury International Publication. He has represented India in education fair at Colombo, Sri Lanka, and also traveled to SCGI University, Malaysia on academic assignment. He has contributed in the development of academics as a board of study member at Goa University, SJ Amravati University, and Rashtrasanta Tukadoji Maharaj Nagpur University. He is presently a board of study member in GH Raisoni University, MP, Yashwantrao Chauhan College of Engineering, which is popularly known as YCC, which is a renowned autonomous institute of Nagpur. And he is also board of study member in Nagpur University and chairman of board of study in automobile engineering at Government Polytechnic Nagpur. He is also a recipient of Best Principal Award and Best Paper Award at various international conferences. Dr. Avari sir, thank you very much for accepting our invitation and connecting with us to conduct this session in our short-term training program on biotechnology and its application in tribal agriculture areas. This is the second time you will be addressing our attendees in this third batch of short-term training program, and we welcome you once again for conducting a session. And may I now please request you, sir, to start the session. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so am I audible?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Okay. So thank you very much, Abhijit, and good morning to all of you. At the outset, let me congratulate the honorable management of the Ballarpur Institute of Technology, Sri Sanjay Ji Vasade, and the honorable principal, Dr. Rajnikant, and the coordinator of this particular program, Dr. Archana Nimkar ma'am, Abhijit, and all you people that they have taken an initiative to organize the short-term training program, basically on the biotechnology, okay, and that to apply to the tribal agriculture areas. So in the first lecture, maybe I think on Tuesday, I have given you the overview of the biotechnology and its application in case of the agriculture areas. Okay. So basically, the this particular area which is being coming up and what we are looking for, that its extensive use should be there. So let me present my screen. So I hope that it is visible.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So basically, today we will be seeing the global challenges and the directions for the agriculture biotechnology. All of you know that the biotechnology, the term which is being coined recently in from the 1990s. Okay, and its roots can be traced long back, and the we were using it the biotechnology products of the biotechnology. But in this biotechnology, maybe the some ethical issues are there, from legal issues are there, but at the same time, feeding the people, all the people, with and surviving them by providing the that kind of food, okay, and the quantity which is being required. This is what we have to consider when we are dealing with the agriculture biotechnology. So therefore, there are certain challenges also, and we have to form directions for the this agriculture biotechnology. And me in my 2 hours span of time, today I will be discussing about the same of the global challenges and the directions for the agriculture biotechnology. Okay. So what are the global concerns or the issues for the 21st century? That is climate change. Okay, we know that the climate is changing continuously. Okay, not only in the Indian continent, okay, Asian continent, but throughout the world there are changes which is being taking place in the climate, and the many of the time.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt, sir. I just wanted to confirm if the screen is visible to others, because to me, all of a sudden, it is not visible. I can see that it says like Google is it says that you are presenting the screen, but on
Okay.
screen I am not able to see the presentation.
Okay, okay. So let us take it from others.
Okay. Others, if anybody will please unmute and confirm whether you can see the screen,
Yes,
whether
sir,
you can see the
screen is
presentation.
visible. Screen is visible.
Okay, screen is visible, no?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think that there is some problem on my side. Okay, sir. Okay, please continue.
So the climate change is there, okay, and the many of the time, even in the summer season, we get some kind of heavy rains, or in the winter season also, the unnatural rain is there. So this particular climate change is posing, basically, it is posing us the kind of challenges for implementing the biotechnology. Then the natural resource depletion. All of we know that the natural resources are depleting at a very faster rate. Like a coal is there, okay, and water is there. These are all the natural resources which are depleting at a faster rate, and we have to look for the another type of energy utilization. Then the ozone depletion, okay, because of the alerts which is being produced, because of the exhaust gases from the thermal power plant, nuclear power plant, or from the industries, or from the IC engines or the automobile, there is a ozone layer depletion which is being taking place, and the ultraviolet rays they can reach directly to the earth's surface, okay, where in the ozone surface it is supposed to be absorbed, but it can reach directly to the earth surface. So the ozone depletion is also taking place, which is one of the global challenge. And then the energy consumption, okay, energy consumed, you know that the energy consumption it is also increasing, and the powerful nation is considered which produces the maximum energy and which consumes the maximum energy. Okay, so in India also the energy consumption was very less. Okay, 50 what we can say that 50 years ago, 20 years ago. But nowadays the energy consumption has also increased a lot, and because of that the pollution level in the air, it is being increasing. So therefore this is also putting up the challenges for the biotechnology. Then the chemical pollution. Okay, in chemical pollution also, you know that the chemical plants are there. Lot of chemical plants are there, and initially when India got the independence, that time we have accepted the many chemically polluted industries like Bhopal gas plant was there. That you know that in somewhere in the 1990s, which is basically the plant of the USA, which is being given to India. Like a forging industries also, it is being given to the India. यानी सारे पोल्यूशन करने वाले जो इंडस्ट्रीज है वो इंडिया में शिफ्ट कर दे, एंड वी वेर आल्सो नॉट हैविंग द good economy that time when we got the independence, and we were also looking for the industrialization in our country. Therefore we have accepted it. Okay, but anyway, that chemical pollution, it has been happening because of this plant. Okay, and it is going on. So this is also the global concern for the 21st century. Then the urbanization. Okay, urbanization is taking place. Okay, villages are vacated, and the people are moving toward the urban area. Okay, so urbanization is also one of the issue in the global challenges. Soil deterioration, ecosystem functioning, somewhere ecosystem is also not balanced. Okay, so the whatever the area which is being reserved for the forest, that is getting reducing because human being are encroaching on the area of the forest, and there is no place to live in free spaces which is being available. So what we are trying to do that we are shifting, or we are taking some agriculture land, converting into the non-agriculture land. So therefore the agriculture land is getting reduced. At the same time we are encroaching toward the forest also. This is what the problem which is being arising even in the area where this college is located, Ballarpur Institute of Technology. The many times we read in the newspaper that the tiger, okay, it is coming out of the forest and attacking the human being, attacking the mankind, those who are living in that particular area. So why it is happening? Because the ecosystem has been unbalanced. Okay, we are trying to encroach on the area of the tigers. Okay, we are reducing the forest area and we are moving closer to the forest. So therefore the tigers are coming up. Okay, there is nothing wrong with the tigers or the wild animal, but basically the human being is trying to encroach on their area. So the ecosystem functioning is also one of the challenge. And then the air pollution is also the global concern. All of you know that there is a pollution from the automobile vehicles, there is a pollution from the various sources like industries are there. Okay, in Ballarsha also they have the paper industry. Okay, and somebody, if they can visit the Ballarsha, they can tell me that there is a bad smell which comes from the air whenever you reach to the Ballarsha. Okay, paper mill is there. It's paper pulp. Okay, means exhaust. Sorry, the waste material of the paper pulp. It is being diverted to the rivers of the Chandrapur district. So therefore, there is a lot of air pollution which is being taking place in the India, and this is also the global concern for us for implementing the agriculture biotechnology. And because of that reason only, if you see in that area also Chandrapur district, you will find that the lot of cement plants are there, and the fly ash it is getting deposited in the night on the agriculture field. यानी जो प्लांट्स है वो प्लांट्स के ऊपर जो है वो फ्लाई ऐश आके डिपॉजिट होती है रात में. Okay, now this is the winter season where the dews are formed. So with the help of the dew, we can see very easily that ash is getting deposited onto the plants, and because of that, because of the coal India, because of the WCL area, okay, and because of the thermal power plant, because of the cement plant, okay, the agriculture yield is not there. Means production, what we are expecting, that production is not there. It is hampering the particularly growth of the plant, growth of the crops also. So therefore the air pollution is also one of the global concern for the 21st century. Then the loss of biodiversity, deforestation, and the fresh water pollution. So these are all the global concerns for us, which we need to address it one by one for implementing the agriculture biotechnology. So Chris Pells in 2000, okay, he said that the greatest challenge of the 21st century, that is feeding the 9 billion people with a sustainable agriculture production system. You see that, okay, what kind of challenge we are having in front of us. Because in the beginning itself I told you that the agriculture land, it is being getting reducing. Okay, we are creating a forest of the concrete. Okay, concrete jungle we are creating, and human being, they don't find the place to live. Okay, free space is not available. So therefore agriculture land is getting converted into the non-agriculture land throughout the India, and we are encroaching, or we are reducing the agriculture land. So naturally the question arises, where from this crops will be produced, where we are going to produce the food for us. So greatest challenge of the 21st century is nothing but the feeding the 9 billion people with a sustainable agriculture production system. Okay, so to meet these challenges in the 21st century and beyond humanity, we need ever tool it can find. So therefore agriculture biotechnology, particularly implementing in the tribal area, is one of the solution which is in front of us, wherein we need to work, all researchers, the professors, those who have joined from the various agriculture universities, okay, the scientists from the various places, all of us, we need to come together and to find out the challenge solutions for these challenges of the 21st century. Okay, because the day will come, if we do not address the challenges, the day will come where we will not find the food for the people, food for each and everyone. Okay, getting the food can be a right of the people. Okay, food, shelter, these are all the rights of the human being. But we are not able to produce, we are not able to meet the challenges unless and until we work out with the certain kind of solution. Okay, and we find a tool for that. So how to face the challenges? Okay, so sustainability, that is increasing the yield stability under a different stress condition, understanding of the mechanism that determine the crop productivity and the yield. Okay, so sustainability means now the increasing the yield stability under different stress condition, understanding of the mechanism that determine crop productivity and the yield. Basically trying to develop the particularly the genes of the seeds or the plants or the crop in such a fashion their yield increases, the production from the particular area, it increases. And the environment is also changing. Environment in Uttar Pradesh, environment in Uttaranchal, environment in Himachal Pradesh and in Maharashtra, it is also changing. So we cannot have the common strategy to be implemented all over the India according to the environment, according to the things which is being available. We need to grow that, we need to have that kind of development. Okay, yesterday only, when I was discussing with my one of the friend from the Amravati region, all of you know that Amravati region of the in the Vidarbha, particularly it is in the Vidarbha, it is known for the producing the oranges. And day before yesterday, the news I have read in the newspaper that this is the first time that the turnover of the Amravati region or the Nagpur region of transporting the oranges, it has crossed the 2 crores. Okay, in the season. यानी आज तक के टर्नओवर जो है वो 2 करोड़ क्रॉस नहीं हुआ था. रेलवे का टर्नओवर बोल रहा हूं मैं. रेलवे से यहाँ से ऑरेंजेस जो है, नागपुर ऑरेंजेस और दी अमरावती ऑरेंजेस, it is being transported to the Delhi. Okay, it is being transported to the Bangalore. So the first time the Piyush Goyal, Honorable Railway Minister, has said that this is first time that turnover of the railway for shifting the oranges, for transporting the oranges, it has gone to the level of 2 crore in this season. So therefore, okay, the oranges problem can be addressed in this region. This is called as the orange belt. Nagpur is famous for the orange belt. So I was discussing with my friend from the Amravati that he said that this time they have tried to produce cotton, okay, which is used in the medical field. So I said that whether the farmers of this particular region, whether they are going for such type of cotton, he said no. So therefore he approached to the CICR, okay, Cotton Research Institute is there in the central government initiative in the Nagpur. And they said that this particular cotton is particularly available in the Gujarat region. मतलब गुजरात के एनवायरनमेंट में ये कॉटन आता है, प्रोड्यूस होता है, इसका यील्ड अच्छा आता है. But why don't you try in the Nagpur region? So therefore he planted the cotton seeds or the cotton breed in such a fashion that cotton which is used in the medical field can be produced. And he was saying that yield is very less, okay, and we did not get the sufficient production out of that. So what I mean to say that the sustainability that is increasing the yield stability under the different stress condition and understanding the mechanism, because mechanism to grow the plants or the cotton plant in the Gujarat, in the Uttaranchal Pradesh, it will differ from the Maharashtra, or the mechanism in the environment or the mechanism in the Maharashtra, it will differ from the Gujarat and other places. So therefore the sustainable growth of the agriculture biotechnology, it is being needed, wherein we need to consider also the climate of that region, soil also, some soil parameters are there, and looking at each and every one, we need to optimize our condition so that instead of orange, we can shift our production to some other else. Okay, so this is what it is being expected out of that, and we have to face the challenge. Otherwise, what will happen? We keep on growing only the oranges or only the cotton in this particular belt, and we are not trying or exploring to increase our yield, also trying a different variety of the crops. So the biodiversity present in the region is a source of important traits to improve cultivated plant. However, most of the diversity, that is 10% of the flora, is threatened by the genetic erosion. So biotechnology could be the one strategy to be adapted in order to obtain sustainable varieties with traits of interest that will face the problems encountered in the field and to satisfy the needs of the consumer. So I know that there are some participants, those who have been attending this short-term training program, they are from the Uttaranchal or the southern part of the country. So the biotechnology also, even if it is the strategy which is to be adopted, but it differs from the Uttaranchal or the southern part of the country to the Maharashtra. So therefore, the researchers or the professors, those who are working in this particular field, in the agriculture biotechnology, they should consider all the parameters to have the generalized solutions which can be provided to our farmers, and the biotechnology which can give us the possible solution. This should be adopted according to the region. Then 21st century plants will be GM plants. Okay, so genetically modified plants, because feeding so many people with the limited resources, this is what it is not possible. So therefore, the 21st century plants will be the GM plants. So basically, agriculture biotechnology, medical biotechnology, industrial biotechnology, and the environmental biotechnology. So concerned with the agriculture, okay, we need to focus on these four challenges or the four areas where the agriculture biotechnology, medical, industrial, and the environmental biotechnology, it is to be dealt with. So this is what the biotechnology definition is there, which we have taken up even in our first class also. Okay, any technological application that uses biological systems, living organism, or derivatives thereof to make or modify product or processes for the specific use. Okay, so biotechnology is nothing but the using the such kind of technological applications where the biological systems, living organism or derivatives will modify the product or processes for the specific use. That is nothing but the biotechnology. Some of the products of the biotechnology, it is also shown in this picture. You can see that recombinant DNA technology and the ships or the cloning and the all these products which is being shown over here. So then the question arises, what do you mean by the agriculture biotechnology? So agriculture biotechnology is a collection of scientific techniques used to improve plants, animals and microorganisms, and based on an understanding of a DNA, scientists have developed solutions to increase the agriculture productivity. So starting from the ability to identify genes that may confer advantages on certain crops and the ability to work with such characteristics very precisely. So therefore, we can say that the agriculture biotechnology is especially to improve the plants, animals, and the microorganism. And based on the understanding of the DNA technology, what we like to see that the agriculture productivity, the yield from the crops, it should increase, okay, and it should have the improved version. So on the first day itself, we have seen that putting certain genes into it and then having the desired nutritional values, okay, that is being possible with the help of the biotechnology only. So biotechnology enhances breeders' ability to make improvements in the crops and livestock. Biotechnology enables improvements that are not possible with traditional crossing of related species alone. Means what is being possible with the help of the biotechnology is not being possible with the conventional means. Okay, in the plant also we have seen that for example, okay, हम लोग एक कलम को कट करके रेड रोज का प्लांट करते थे, और रेड रोज का मतलब रेड रोज अगर देता है तो व्हाइट रोज भी देना चाहिए. Same plant, okay, same rose plant should give the red rose as well as white rose. This is being tried, but conventionally it is very difficult one. At the same time, okay, getting the fruitful result, it is also difficult one. So therefore, the biotechnology, which enables the improvement and which is not basically possible, and even crossing the traditional related species alone. So that is possible with the biotechnology. Then the role of biotechnology for the food security, that is a huge potential is that, okay, if properly integrated with the other technologies, accompanied by systematic risk assessment and management, biosafety system used to address food security and other key agriculture challenges of the poor countries. Okay, there are many countries wherein, okay, the agriculture production is not there sufficient, it is not there, and even they don't have the money to procure or to import the food, import the crop from the other countries. Okay, and people are facing the lot of problem for getting the agriculture product or the food for them. So therefore, the biotechnology can be used for the even the food security, as well as at the same time it can address the other issues of the poor countries. Okay, so we can develop the yield can be maximum at the same time, okay, that it can be served to the poor country. So how long has biotechnology been used in the agriculture and the food production? So the first food product of biotechnology, an enzyme which is used in the cheese production and yeast used for baking, appeared in the market in 1990. And since 1995, the farmers have been growing GE crops. In 2003, 7 million farmers in 18 countries and more than 85% of them resource poor farmer in the developing world, okay, were planting biotech crop. Almost one third of the global biotech crop area was grown in the developing countries. Okay, so in the last time we have seen that in the United States of America, the biotechnology products like a cotton, like basically the soybean, maize, and other crops, it is being produced extensively. Okay, in our country, the biotechnology is not being rooted at the lower level. The farmers are not taking the benefit of that, or we can say that they are not able to understand or the mechanism, and there is no basically the awareness or the education is being less, and the awareness is not being created. So almost one third of the global biotech crop area was grown in the developing countries. So our intention is that our farmers also in many of the parts of the country, the poor farmers are there. Farmers are not, we can say that they have the rich farmer. So they should be trained, they should be educated, and the agriculture universities in India can also adapt the programs for the nearby region wherein okay, awareness and education is being created for the biotechnology product, biotechnology crop. And in India also, we are under the developing countries. Okay, in India also, this yield of the crop or the production from the agriculture, it will increase with the help of the biotechnology crops or biotechnology product. So how is agriculture biotechnology used? Genetic engineering, that is, scientists have learned how to move genes from one organism to the another. So this has been called as the genetic modification, genetic engineering, or the genetic improvement. So regardless of the name, the process allows the transfer of useful characteristics such as resistance to a disease into a plant, animal, and microorganism by inserting genes from DNA another organism. So virtually all crops improved with transferred DNA, often called as the GM crops or the GMOs, to date have been developed to aid farmers to increase productivity by reducing crop damage from the weeds, diseases, and the insect. Okay. The kind of insects, kind of diseases which are coming due to the climate change, they are also varying. Okay, once I have submitted the proposal to the Department of Science and Technology, I know that मेरे ख्याल से 2018 में डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी को एक प्रपोजल सबमिट किया था. वो प्रपोजल में बेसिकली ये था कि हमारे एरिया में इन विदर्भ रीजन, okay, the cotton, it is a cotton belt where the cotton is produced in the maximum quantity, and we are using the bt cotton. Okay, many of the farmers are growing the bt cotton where the yield is more, where the crop production is more. And what we have seen that the particular type of disease, it is coming every year and it is varying also. Okay, यहाँ पे एक बोंडरी नाम का एक डिसीज आता है, okay, कॉटन प्लांट के ऊपर, and it particularly damages the cotton plant and the production or the yield, okay, it get reduces. And when the farmer they approaches to the getting a solution to the fertilizer companies, and they bring the pesticides, okay, and they spray the pesticides over there. Okay, कॉटन प्लांट के ऊपर पेस्टिसाइड स्प्रे करते हैं. वो क्या है कि वो जो शॉपकीपर है, वो शॉपकीपर एक दे देता है कि भाई ये आप लोग लेके जाइए, 90% पानी डालिए, 10% ये डालिए, मिक्स डालिए, and then accordingly you spray it. Okay, spray it on your cotton plant, and your that disease will be gone. Boundary जो जिसको बोलते हैं, it will die, and your insects will not be there, diseases will not be there, even onto the bt cotton. So what we have submitted to the Department of Science and Technology, that we were supposed to prepare one machine, okay, and completely that leaves of the cotton plant will be collected. जैसे कि हर साल अगर हर एक इसमें अगर आता है तो कॉटन के जो लीव्स है, उसके जो लीव्स है वो कलेक्ट करके it will be tested under the machine which is being developed by us, and we will give the proposition of the pesticide to spray. मतलब पेस्टिसाइड कौन सा स्प्रे करना है, किस क्वांटिटी में स्प्रे करना है और कैसे स्प्रे करना है, that kind of things are suggested to the farmer, so that okay, the insects it dies and the diseases will be gone. So the action can be taken in the real time. So this was our machine which we are working on and which we are developing also. क्योंकि disease हर साल जो आता है वो अलग अलग प्रकार का disease है, एक ही प्रकार का solution उसको नहीं चलेगा. So providing the solutions to the farmers that which pesticide they should spray, what should be the combination of the pesticide, what should be the features of the pesticide, then okay, what should be the proportion of the water, and in what mechanism, okay, what should be the frequency of spraying on the cotton plant. Okay, everything that solution will be provided so that the disease from the cotton plant or even from the BT cotton, it will go out. So this is what the development we are taking place in this particular Vidarbha region, and we are working on that for the even for the biotechnology product. So the GM crops which is being developed, basically they are for helping the farmers to increase the productivity by reducing the crop damage from the weeds and the diseases or the insects. So traditional plant breeding, you can see that in the traditional plant breeding, that is DNA is a strand of genes much like a strand of pearls. Traditional plant breeding combines many genes at once. So traditional donor, okay, this is the desired gene which is the introduced into the traditional donor. Okay, it crosses with the commercial variety. Okay, naturally in the commercial variety, we would like to see the yield of the crop should be more, and there is a formation of the new variety. So many genes are transferred like that. So this is the desired genes which is being introduced into the commercial variety, crossing with the commercial variety, and the new variety it is being produced. So this is the plant biotechnology. So in the plant biotechnology, that is using the plant biotechnology, a single gene may be added to the strand. Okay, so this is the desired gene. Okay, and this desired gene is transferred into the commercial variety, and formation of the new variety, that is only desired gene is transferred. Okay, not like that key traditional donor, okay, complete genes are being transferred, only the desired gene is being transferred to form a new variety. So this is what the change in the traditional plant breeding and the plant biotechnology is there. So do we need the transgenic crop? Okay, this is really a question that where the people like you, they need to find out the solution for this one. That do we need to transgenic crops? Some people may say that we do not need the transgenic crop. Some people may say that we need it. Okay, but we can see that in 1960s, okay, we had Harit Kranti जिसको बोलते हैं, okay, green revolution in India. Okay, so green revolution in India, okay, Dr. Kurian Varghese was there. Okay, and then followed by the milk production increase, that is a white revolution in India, whereas and in the green revolution, our agriculture product yield, it has increased by multifold, and all our agriculture producing areas were connected to the common grid, and the production was at a high rate that okay, our crops also, agriculture products also, it is exported to the other countries. Okay, but what is happening is that we are now 130 crore people, 130 crore populated country. Okay, 19 अगर आप 1960 में अगर पकड़ेंगे तो हमारे देश की जो लोक संख्या है वो कितनी थी, 60-70 करोड़ 80 करोड़ रही होंगी. Okay, so we have another addition of the India, मतलब इंडिया के अंदर में ही दूसरा एक इंडिया तैयार हो गया है जिसमें our population has gone to the level of 130 crores. Now what about the agriculture plant, what about the agriculture areas, does it has increased? No. Okay, हमारे एथिक्स में ये नहीं आता है कि पाकिस्तान का एरिया या नेपाल का एरिया या चाइना का एरिया, अफगानिस्तान का एरिया इंक्रोचमेंट किया जाए करके. ओके, हमारी एरिया के ऊपर वो इंक्रोचमेंट करते हैं, तो इसलिए कैसा है कि एग्रीकल्चर लैंड इट इज गेटिंग रिड्यूस्ड आल्सो. ओके, सो ऑन वन वे our population is being increased, on the another side our agriculture area which was under the crop production, it is getting reduced, and human being they are using it for the living purpose and constructing the concrete jungle, concrete forest. So therefore, the real question is that do we need a transgenic crops? So at this moment in 2020, I can say that yes, we need a transgenic crops. Okay, wherein we need to work out with the biotechnology and the crops, agriculture biotechnology, where we should try to see that the yield production is more, okay, and the production is more from the crops and having the or maintaining the similar kind of nutritional values. So depending on where and for what purpose a transgenic plant transgenic plants can result in the higher yield, okay, result in the improved quality, confer pest or disease resistance, okay, so confer tolerance to heat, cold and drought, and the weather conditions are changing, climate is changing. So transgenic plants can be developed in such a fashion that it can be tolerant to the heat, cold and the drought, and also the disease resistance plants can be developed with this transgenic plant. So therefore, okay, not only having a higher yield, improved quality, at the same time the disease resistance and the tolerance to heat, cold and drought, that can be seen through the transgenic plant. So wherever such kind of conditions are there, okay, so there we need a transgenic plant. Particularly, okay, there are participants from the other area also, like a southern part of the country, like Uttaranchal, Uttar Pradesh. So what I can say you that you might be also reading in the newspaper that Vidarbha region, okay, is basically the dry region where the rainfall is less, okay, and at the same time the water is not available in the ample quantity, and the natural resources like water, it is not available in the ample quantity, and because of that the production is very less, and the farmers in this Vidarbha part of the country, that is they are committing the suicide, okay. The reason being is that they are not able to survive, okay. Their production is each year some or other kind of diseases are being coming onto the plant. Their production is not to that level so that they can survive, they can support to their family, they can have a food for that, and they are basically committing the suicide. So this is particularly the area of the Vidarbha region, okay, which is considered to be the polluted and the dry region of the Maharashtra state, okay, and the western part of the country. So we need to see that the transgenic plant and the agriculture biotechnology, it should be implemented extensively to find a solution, to provide the solutions to our poor farmers, so that they should not commit the suicide, and they should come out of the situation by increasing the yield of their product and having an improved quality. So this is the time that we should help our farmers in the tribal region, okay, and try to see that the awareness is being created, and the same time, okay, they are getting a benefit out of the various colleges, various researchers, various teachers, those who are working in this region. So the transgenic plant can provide you the solutions to these four challenges or the four problems. Then the plant biotechnology, that is it is about more food, okay, that is quantity will be more, okay. You can see that this is the big quantity which is being shown, okay. So more food will be there, okay, large quantity production can be there, better food will be there, and it is better for the environment, okay, because agriculture biotechnology, it addresses the problems of the environment, so it is better for the environment. So the plant biotechnology, it is in favor of the human being, and we should go for that, okay. Are transgenic plants safe? Okay, so this is what the question in the first short-term training program, that are transgenic plants are safe. So the big answer to this one is the yes. Transgenic plants are safe, and there is no evidence that a crop is dangerous to eat just because it is GM. Okay, there could be risk associated with the specific new gene introduced, which is why each crop with a new characteristics is introduced by GM is a subject to the close scrutiny. So when the GM seeds or GM crop is being developed, that time only the food security, food nutritional values, or the crop nutrition, crop values, it is being checked, and the quality of the GM product, it is under the close scrutiny. So transgenic plants are safe in nature, okay, and there is no evidences also, okay, which shows that it is dangerous to eat or it is dangerous for the humankind. Okay, so therefore it is better to go with the transgenic plants in future. So major GMO concerns. What were the concerns of the GMO? That is food safety, that is control of the food supply, then biodiversity loss via super monoculture, then the biodiversity risk via interbreeding, non-target impacts, beneficial insect, then fear of the unknown, and it is not a natural process. Okay, so these were the major GMO concerns regarding the food safety. Okay, so more abundant and healthy head, less dependent on the pesticide, decreased pollution risk for farmers, frost damage, pest and disease damage, and higher yield, more agriculture yield per land mass to feed a hungry growing world population, more precise than the traditional breeding technique. So these were the GMO concerns, okay, and it is less dependent on the pesticide. One of the example I can quote you, those who are from the Delhi region, okay, जो दिल्ली साइड के हैं पार्टिसिपेंट, वो जानते हैं कि 10 साल पहले जो दिल्ली में जो यमुना रिवर थी, वो हाउ पोल्यूटेड इट वाज. ओके, यमुना रिवर, गंगा रिवर, ओके, आई विल टेक द एग्जांपल ऑफ ओनली यमुना रिवर. द काइंड ऑफ पोल्यूशन व्हिच वाज हैपनिंग इन द यमुना रिवर, ओके, बहुत ही मतलब ड्रास्टिक ये चेंज था. एंड द पीपल ऑफ दिल्ली, दे वर नॉट प्रोक्यूरिंग द स्पिनच एज ए vegetable and they were not consuming. The reason being is that कि जो स्पिनच जो है वो प्रोड्यूस किया जाता था यमुना के बैंक पे, मतलब वो रिवर के बैंक पे, उनके रिवर साइड में उसको तैयार किया जाता था. Since the Yamuna river was polluted mostly, because of that the quality of the spinach which is produced on the bank of the river of Yamuna, it was not good for the health. It was not good for consuming the spinach as a food. So therefore, okay, the GMO concerns, what we like to see that there should be a less dependence on the pesticide. Okay, product quality should be defined, product quality should be developed in such a fashion that yield it increases, but at the same time it is disease resistance. If the plants are disease resistant, then in that case we need to consume the less pesticide, or we may not be consuming the pesticide, and there is no any kind of disease which is coming onto the plant. So we will have the less dependence on the pesticides, and the quality or the nutritional values of the crop or the food which is being produced because of the GMO product, it will be maintained, and we will have the more precisely quality. Okay, and also we can feed hungry people because of the growing world population. So majority of the land devoted to the transgenic crops in United States, around 68% of the land, it is devoted to the transgenic crops. In Argentina, 22%. In Canada, 6%. In China, 3%. Okay, so these are all the majority of the land devoted to the transgenic crops. Okay, 68%, 22%, Canada 6%, and China 3%. So what we can see that in the India, okay, it is not so popular. It is lesser than 3%. Therefore, it is not shown in the screen, not shown in the slide. Okay, in Argentina, in United States, even in Canada, okay, the more transgenic crops are there. So crops improved through the biotechnology that are grown most frequently. Are Akshay? Crops improved through the biotechnology that are grown most frequently are nothing but the soya beans are there, okay, corn is there, cotton is there, and the canola is there. So oilseed rape of variety developed in Canada, and basically these are growth in North America, which yields valuable culinary oil. So these are the crops basically which is being improved with the help of the biotechnology, like a soybean, corn, cotton, and the canola. Then agriculture biotechnology, that is first generation agriculture biotechnology, that is which was used in the producing the wine or the beer or the cheese, and the vaccines were produced with the help of the in the first generation biotechnology. This development has been taken in the first generation. In the second one, the conventional breeding tissue culture techniques, which was developed in the second generation of the biotechnology. In the third generation biotechnology or the modern biotechnology, recombinant DNA technology or GMOs or the genomics were developed. Okay, and recombinant DNA technology was used. Okay. So agriculture biotechnology, that is modern biotechnology, which is not a silver bullet or a quick fix to solve the world's poverty, okay, and food security problems. So therefore, the modern biotechnology, we cannot say that this is like one medicine which is being given and it will get clear and everything will be there, okay, overnight. Okay, we need to work on that. We need to see that these GM products are developed as per our requirement. So when combined with the conventional approaches, it can go a long way in the improvement of the crop productivity. Okay, so we cannot take away completely without using the conventional approaches. So somewhere the conventional approaches and the modern biotechnology, it should be clubbed together, and so that the our problems can be solved. Then does require a new way of thinking and organization and communication. So therefore, okay, we need to have a different way of out of the box thinking, okay, organization and the communication in this regard in the modern biotechnology. Okay, many of the time we keep on opposing the GM products. Okay, this has happened everywhere in India also. Okay, 3 decades, 4 decades ago. So therefore, that new way of thinking, organization, and out of the box thinking, which is being important. Then comprehensive approach to the agriculture biotechnology, okay, that is the complete cycle, it is shown on your screen. So therefore economic growth and the food security, improved nutrition, then research and development, and the technology transfer and the IPR. Last time we have seen that the US Supreme Court has approved for the patents in the biotechnology from 1990s, and in India also not many patents are happening. Okay, the research in this particular field, agriculture biotechnology, is very less, and it has to be extensive research for the agriculture biotechnology, and the technology transfer also it is not being happening, and the IPR also, okay, it is at the slower rate. So economic growth, food security, and improved nutrition, this is one complete cycle is there. Okay, R&D and the technology. Then the biosafety, that is developing the regulatory framework, food and environmental safety. We have these certain kind of rules and regulation and the regulatory framework, but whenever the another type of GMOs it is being developed, we need to see that at the same time the regulatory framework and food and environmental safety rules and regulation, it is being developed. Then varietal release, that is conventional breeding, okay, PVP, IPR, and then taking it to the farmers, okay, extension in stewardship. Many of the time it is being developed, but it is not being grassrooted. Grassrooted in the sense it does not go to the farmers, okay, and it is not being implemented. The research, even in case of the some of the agriculture universities, it goes in the books of the researcher only. It is not being implemented over there. So what we need to see is that this is the complete cycle. Okay, unless and until you fill up all the things, you follow all the steps, the cycle will not be complete. So therefore, the comprehensive approach which is desired for the agriculture biotechnology, that is taking the extension to the farmers, okay, educating them, training them, and stewardship. Some leaders are being required, okay, who can take this technology, who can take this GMO product to the farmer, and then the agriculture industry outreach, public outreach, market and trade, and then we will have the economic growth, food security, and improved nutrition. So this is what the complete cycle is there, and this kind of comprehensive approach is being desired for the agriculture biotechnology. Then only we can find the suitable solutions for the hungry people and feeding the 9 billion people, which is a challenge before us. So major issues in the agriculture biotechnology, that is biosafety, okay, food safety, environmental safety, regulatory frameworks, food aid, intellectual property right, plant variety production, patenting of the technology, processes and the product, international trade, that is labeling, export markets to Europe, okay, then the protocol on biosafety, then globalization and control of the world food supply by the multinational companies. So international trading, which is being the major policy issues, is there. So international trading, okay, to which country we can export, what kind of qualities will be permitted, what are the World Trade Organization rules, whether it is being developed, then the patenting technology, processes, products, and the biosafety. These are all the major policy issues in the agriculture biotechnology. Okay. Then the communication and outreach, that is public awareness and acceptance, policymaker awareness, agriculture industry awareness, consumer benefits, trust in science and regulatory system, newsworthiness of GM food. So this is what it is being expected, and which is a major issue, that is communication and the outreach program. It is not being implemented effectively. So I told you the researchers are doing a good research, but it is there in the books only. It is just like an ornament which is being used to decorate your library. Okay. However, your research, which is the good research, it is not being taken up to the farmers. It is not being communicated to the farmers. So it is not being communicated to the policy makers or the agriculture industry. Awareness is not there. So therefore, the consumers are not deriving the benefits out of the research work which is being carried out. So what I urge at this stage is that the participants, those who are attending this biotechnology, those who are working in the agriculture biotechnology, they should see that their research is actually implemented in some or other farming field. Maybe they are developing the GMO product, they are working in the biotechnology, and they may be from the particularly Haryana, Punjab, or whatever the region of the India, but they should see that it is being implemented, it is being communicated, and it is being given to the farmers of the country. So major policy issues in the agriculture and biotechnology, that is public-private sector partnerships and linkages. That is private sector concentrate on major crops such as corn, soybean, and the cotton. Okay. So what we concentrate is that we are only concentrating on the cotton, soybean, or the corn. Out of this, okay, soybean and corn can be consumed, but cotton cannot be consumed, okay, like a food. So therefore, okay, even though we are growing the cotton just to earn the money, and the more yield is there, so at the same time, other food products also should be targeted by the public-private sector partnership and developing the linkages. If the food products are not being targeted with the help of the agriculture biotechnology, okay, then in that case कि cotton grow करेंगे, ठीक है, cloth बनाएंगे, cotton grow करेंगे, लेकिन cotton consume तो नहीं किए जाएंगे ना food करके. तो कैसे है कि वो cotton अगर ज्यादा grow होगा तो उसके prices फिर से कम हो जाएंगे. So therefore, the private and the public sector should concentrate on they are concentrating on the major crops. However, they should concentrate on the other crops also, like a public sector concentrate on the papaya, potato, cassava, sweet potato, banana. These are all the food products. Okay. So private sector has a deep pockets to comply with the regulatory requirement. So therefore somewhere something is being required. जैसे कि एक महाराष्ट्र है, ओके, और ये यहाँ पे विदर्भ है, तो किसने कितना कल्टीवेशन करना चाहिए, ओके, वो उसका कोई लिमिट भी नहीं है. सारे के सारे लोग कॉटन ग्रो करते हैं तो हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते. ओके, एवरीबडी हैव द फ्रीडम to grow. What to grow, it is up to the farmers only. So some type of regulations, regulatory requirement are also being required for the private sector where we have the deep pockets. So therefore the balance system and the ecosystem will be there in the agriculture biotechnology, which is one of the major issues. Okay, so biotechnology policy challenges and constraints in developing countries. So no strategies for communication and outreach policy maker awareness and public awareness, lack of human resources with expertise in biotechnology related policies, lack of financial resources to develop and implement the policies, lack of political will also to adopt the biotechnology and address the crop productivity, limited number of countries develop and implemented national biotechnology strategies, lack of viable seed industries. So these are all the challenges before us and the constraint before us in the developing countries. Okay, lack of human resources with expertise in biotechnology. You see that in India also, how many agriculture universities are there, okay, and how many researchers are there in the agriculture field, even though we say that India is a agriculture based country. Okay, हमारे पास जो है वो नॉर्मल यूनिवर्सिटीज ज्यादा है, नॉर्मल रिसर्चर्स ज्यादा है, लेकिन एग्रीकल्चर यूनिवर्सिटीज, एग्रीकल्चर प्रोफेसर, एग्रीकल्चर रिसर्चर्स आर लिमिटेड इन क्वांटिटी. महाराष्ट्र में दो यूनिवर्सिटीज है, okay, which is catering the need of the particularly the farmers in this region. Okay, and otherwise देखा जाए बाकी यूनिवर्सिटी जो है 10 से 15 है. So therefore, okay, we need to develop the human resources with expertise in the biotechnology and with the related policies. So biotechnology policy in India, that is Ministry of Agriculture, Department of Biotechnology, then Ministry of Environment and Forest, Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee is there, GEAC, Review Committee on Genetic Manipulation, Monitoring Evaluation Committee, applicant, investigator, and the state government. Okay, so this is what the biotechnology policy in India is there. Okay, we know that the Department of Biotechnology is being established, which is working in coordination with the Ministry of the Agriculture and the Ministry of Environment and the Forest. So biotechnology policies and challenges and constraints, that is a lack of cooperation among the government ministries regulating biotechnology derived product. Okay, there is a cooperation and coordination among the government ministries is also missing. Lack of public-private sector partnership that are critical to both R&D and commercialization. Okay, public-private partnerships are not there. PPP is not there, which are very crucial for the R&D and also the commercialization of the product or the GMO product. International trade barriers are there, food aid issues are there, compliance to international protocols. Okay, lack of infrastructure, institutional support structure, that is biocontainment facilities, PVP, patent offices, food safety, and lack of risk assessment capacity and expertise. So these are the biotechnology policies, challenges, and the constraint. So elements of the biosafety framework to regulate the GMO product, the legislative component, that is GM Act or law passed by the Parliament. Okay, specific GM regulation linked to the GM Act and to be implemented and administered by government department. Biosafety framework implemented to assess the scientific risk of GM product, assess the socio-economic impact, ensure the public communication. So these are elements of the biosafety framework. So this is what the biosafety framework is there. GMO Executive Council, okay, that is duties of this one to advise the Minister of Agriculture on all aspects concerning the development of production, use, application, and release of GM product. Okay, Scientific Advisory Committee, that is its duties are risk assessment and management, appoint scientific review panel, GMO register, that is Department of Agriculture, okay, that is routine inspection, appeal board, applications for GMO permit for the field test, communication with the public. So this is what the existing biosafety framework. Okay. So roadmap for the commercialization of the GM product, unless and until the GM product are commercialized, it will not go into the extensive use by the farmer, and we are not able to improve the quality of the product, quality of the crop, and the yield also, okay, production also. So R&D, that is a technology development, field test, establish a proof of concept, product development, that is multi-location field trial, okay, cultivar development and bulking up of material, regulatory file development, perform food safety analysis, okay, then obtain freedom to operate, who owns the intellectual property for all the components of the product, then dissemination strategy, how will product will reach the farmer, will private sector seed companies be involved, extension, how do farmers grow and cultivate the product, stewardship and liability, management to the product by farmers, processor and exporter, and public communication of benefits and impact. So this is what we have seen that in the roadmap, that is extension and stewardship means how do our farmers can grow and cultivate the product, which is somewhat missing, which is putting us the challenges before us, and the stewardship in liability is not there. So we need to have the roadmap for the commercialization of a GMO product, and if it is implemented successfully, naturally we can grow up the GMO products and we can improve our yield also. So global adoption of the GM crops in 2018. So let me check whether I am audible and my slides are visible or not. Okay.
Yes, sir, you're audible and the slides are visible.
Thank you. So global adoption of the GM crops in 2018, that is USA, okay, where the crops which is grown like soybean, cotton, corn and canola, and area of the GM crops was 39 mega hectare, okay, and in Australia it is 0.1, South Africa 0.3, and China 2.1, Canada 3.5. But in India, it is lesser than 0.1 area of the GM product. So crops which is produced in India is only the cotton. Okay, what we say the BT cotton, that is the GM crop which is being produced in India. Okay, in USA you can see that the soybean, cotton, corn, and canola, it is being produced. GM crops are being produced. Okay, and very large compared with the India, large area of the agriculture land, it is being occupied with the help of the GM crop. So therefore in India we need to see that there should be the adoption of the GM crops, and extensive research, extensive communication, education, training is being essential in India, so that it can be cultivated by the farmers and they can grow the GM product, they can have the more production and their profit will be more. And particularly in the Vidarbha region, it will help the poor farmers, because they, if their profit is more, if they are able to grow up the GM crops, if they are able to grow up their profit margin, then in that case naturally they will be able to survive and they will not commit the suicide. So there is one thing which is being essentially addressed in India, that is the education, training and the adoption of the GM crops in India. And the researchers, the people like you, they should work in this particular area and try to see that this particular number of 0.1, it is being increased to somewhat a higher level, and we will have the better economy of India in future. So global adoption of the GMO rates, okay, that is a soybean, okay, this is a global area, and transgenic area is 36.5. We will see the cotton, okay, which is there in the produced in India, okay, global area is 34, transgenic area is 6.8, okay, and in case of the maize 140 and the 12.4. So opportunities for applying biotechnology. So world population has increased from 2.5 billion in 1950 to अरे अक्षय अरे अरे कोण आहे इथे त्याला आवाज नको करू म्हणा आणि अर्धा दरवाजा लावून द्या ना. The world population has increased from 2.5 billion in 1950 to 6.7 billion today and is estimated to reach almost 9.2 billion by 2050. You see that what is the projected population of the world, 9.2 billion by 2050. So but now it is 2020 only. So 30 साल में अगर 9.2 बिलियन अगर वर्ल्ड का पॉपुलेशन हो जाता है तो इतने सब लोगों को खिलाना, फूड प्रोड्यूस करना, इट विल बी चैलेंज फॉर अस. ओके, but it should be taken as an opportunity also. With that growth comes the challenge producing the enough food to meet the demands of the world's people, and an even greater challenge of producing it in a way that conserves the biodiversity and other natural resources on which societies depend. Okay, so conserving the natural resources, having a biodiversity, conserving the biodiversity, it is also essential. So here we have the opportunity of applying the biotechnology. Okay. One estimate is that agriculture production will need to increase by 50% by 2020 to meet the world's demand for the food. So technological innovation has helped to ease some problems posed by population growth over the last 50 years. Agriculture productivity has doubled worldwide and tripled in even the developing countries. Okay, so we need to see that कि 2050 में अगर 9.2 billion people will be there on this planet, then in that case, how we can apply this biotechnology in the agriculture area to serve these people. This is what the challenge as well as opportunity before us. Okay. So during the 20th century, the Green Revolution drew on the research of conventional plant breeders to develop higher yielding crops that were successful in increasing the global food safety. However, the new crop varieties produced in the Green Revolution created the dependence on additional farming inputs and created some new environmental problem. So today, with the finite acreage of the high quality agriculture land on which to grow food, biotechnology has emerged as a potential tool for overcoming the current limitations on the food production. So many have asked that whether biotechnology can live up to its promise, whether it will also generate a new dependencies and the problem. Okay, so improving the biotechnology and the application of the biotechnology, it is promising one. Biotechnology is the application of the scientific and engineering principle, not by the trial and error method we are implementing, to the processing or the production of the material of biological agent to provide the goods and the services. So agriculture biotechnology encompasses a growing list of techniques and the range from a simple probes to determine whether an individual plant or animal is carrying a specific gene to measurement of the activity of all an organism genes simultaneously. So one of the common technique in the agriculture biotechnology is the integration of a gene from one species to the another genome of other. Okay, and this technique is commonly known as the genetic engineering, and the resulting product is also described as the transgenic, having a foreign gene. So genetic engineering allows novel characteristics to be introduced into the plant. This could not generally be accomplished with standard breeding techniques. Okay. So selected opportunities for the applying biotechnology, that is increasing the crop productivity, that is overcoming biotic stresses, insects, weeds, overcoming abiotic stresses, soil fertility, heat stress, drought stress, insufficiency of resource use, nutritional value of crop, okay, that is enhancing vitamin concentration, enhancing mineral concentration, enhancing the protein content. Okay, it is said that the golden rice can deal with the vitamin A deficiency. Okay, even though it is not permitted in India, but the golden rice which is being produced, which is a GM product, it can deal with the deficiency of the particularly the deficiency A. Okay, nowadays there is a deficiency which is coming up in the many of the people is nothing but the vitamin B12 deficiency is there. So as on today, okay, not many food are available which can have the support to the vitamin 12 B12 deficiency. Okay, because in the non-veg food, the B12 is available, okay, in the sufficient quantity. But those who are the vegetarians, okay, they would like to see that the vitamin 12 deficiency is being made through the products or the crops or the veg food. So therefore, the enhancing the vitamin concentrations, okay, mineral concentrations or the protein content, this is again the opportunity for the biotechnology, plant-made pharmaceuticals, okay, vaccines, protein therapies, then the improved food security, that is reducing the post-harvest loss, reducing risk to food production, alternative uses, biodiversity, that is engineering safeguards to protect existing biodiversity, preserving biodiversity, natural resource conservation, that is renewable energy. Okay. So these are the some of the biotech products which I am showing it to you. Okay. So biotech products include the proteins in the home pregnancy test, monoclonal antibodies, frost resistant strawberry plant. Okay. These are the bioproducts. Okay. So although many are focused on medical and agriculture applications, some are for our fashion interest also. Okay. So strawberry. Then the genes for the genes, okay, that is stonewort genes use genetically engineered enzyme, amylase and cellulose to create a faded look. Okay, so this faded look is possible in the genes cloth. Okay, with the help of the developing such type of variety. Okay, where the stonewort genes use genetically engineered enzyme. Okay, so originally pumice stones were used. Okay, genes washed with the stones. Okay, but now this is being created. This method damaged these machines because using the stones for the creating a faded look, creating a different look for the genes. Okay, they were damaging the machine. Okay, now these genes are being produced. Microbial application, that is bacteria and yeast are the most frequently used microbes. Okay, so better enzymes and organisms for making foods, simplifying manufacture and production processes, and making decontamination processes for industrial waste product removal more efficient. So microbes used to clone and produce batch amounts of the important proteins. Then agriculture application, agriculture biotechnology is estimated to be $6 billion market by 2005, and including the applications such as pest resistance plant, higher protein and vitamin content in food, drugs developed and grown in as plant product, drought resistant and cold tolerant, and higher yielding crops. So the plant advantage, the agrobiotech field boasts about the plant advantage over the microbial biotech. The plant advantage refers to the fact that the cost of producing the plant material with the recombinant proteins is often significantly lower than the bacteria. Okay, so this is the advantages of the advantages with the ag biotech. Okay. Also, the ag biotech may combine with medical biotech in order to produce the drugs with a molecular form. So you know that what do you mean by the molecular farming? That is it is the use of genetically modified plants as a source of pharmaceutical product. These are usually recombinant proteins with therapeutic value, and this is an emerging but very challenging field that requires the manipulation of protein glycosylation, that is addition of the polysaccharide chain. Okay, and at the genetic engineering level. So molecular farming, it is that is genetically modified plant as a source of pharmaceutical products. Okay. Then biotechnology applications in agriculture. that is increase in the food production and can be achieved by agrochemical based agriculture, organic culture, genetically engineered crop based agriculture, green revolution, crop production increased by using improved crop varieties. Okay, food supply was tripled but was not enough for growing population. Agrochemicals were too expensive for farmers to afford. Increase in yield with existing varieties are not possible with the conventional breeding. So introduction of the genetically modified crop was an alternative to obtain maximum yield by understanding the genetics of the crop. So some of the useful aspects of the genetic molecular modified plants in agriculture, that is nutritional quality will be improved, vitamin A enriched rice. We have discussed just now that golden rice which is enriched with the vitamin A. Okay. Better nitrogen fixation, tolerant to abiotic stress like a cold, drought, salt. Okay, reduce reliance on chemical pesticide. Okay, we can consume the less pesticide. Okay, and dependency will be less. Reduce post harvest losses, increase the efficiency of mineral usage by plant, production of disease resistance crop, and micro propagation for the biomass energy production. So these are the top 10 genetically modified foods like a soybean, corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes, cottonseed, then rice, canola, okay, culinary oil, dairy product, peas, papaya. Okay. So pest resistance plant, biotechnology in agriculture, the pest resistance plant, the development of the pest resistance plant reduced the use of the pesticide. So one such approach, that is introduction of the Bt toxin to target the plant. Okay, like example Bt cotton, Bt corn, okay, rice, tomato, potato, and soybean, where the Bt toxin is being introduced, and Bt toxin produced by bacillus due to the presence of the Bt toxin gene. This is the mechanism of the Bt toxin and the Bt cotton. Okay, so this mechanism is shown over here. The bacteria, okay, then the DNA extraction and isolation, cloning and designing genes, then transformation, cell and tissue culture, the plant breeding. Okay. So Bt in inactive form sprayed on the crops. Okay. Then this is eaten by the insects, which is coming up. Toxin gets activated by alkaline pH of the insect's gut. Okay. Then swelling of the gut insects, you can see that swelling of the gut of insects, and then the death of the insect. Okay. So Bt gene is transferred from the bacillus into the corn. European corn borer feeds on the corn plant and insects the protein encoded by the Bt gene. Okay, and Bt protein penetrates and collapses the cell lining the gut and the insects dies. Okay, so likewise, this type of crop or this type of genes were developed. That is Bt spread on the crops, eaten by the insect. Toxin get activated by alkaline pH of the insect's gut, swelling of the gut of insect, and there is a death of the insect. So pest resistance plant, that is Bt toxin, is not toxic to all pests, or pests become resistant against the Bt toxin. So another approach to develop the pest resistance crop against the nematode parasite, that is RNA interference. Okay, so RNA takes place in all eukaryotic organism as a method of cell defense. So method to genetically modify crop through RNA, that is DNA introduced will produce both sense and antisense RNA. Okay, transgenic plant resistance and protected from parasite. Parasite will not be able to survive in host which experiences interfering RNA. Okay, so this is what we can see, that animal applications. Animal can be used as a bioreactor. Many human therapeutic proteins are needed in massive quantities. So scientists create a female transgenic animal to express therapeutic proteins in the milk. Okay. So the goats, cattle, sheep, and the chickens are the sources of antibodies, protective proteins that recognize and destroy the foreign material. Okay. So transgenic refers to containing genes from the another sources. Then in the first class also we have seen that the Dolly the sheep cloning chip, which was produced in 1996, okay, became the first clone animal created by a somatic cell nuclear transfer process. Born in July 1996, announced in 1997, and also died in 2003. So Dolly was cloned from a cell taken from a 6-year-old ewe. Okay, she became the center of much controversy that still exists today. Okay. But once upon a time, that Dolly, the sheep, the first mammal to be cloned from an adult cell, and it was featured also on the Time magazine. Okay. Clone kitty. Okay. Human clone, okay, which was tried by the Britain grants embryo cloning patent and become the first country in the world to grant a patent covering cloned early stage human embryos. The decision ignited new controversy among biotechnology critics, even though the Grand Corporation, the company licensed to use the patent, has no intention of creating the clone human. Okay, so human cloning was not permitted, even though the patent was granted, and the company who has taken the patent, okay, they said that it is not for the production of the human being, and it is just for the development and testing and checking whether the human cloning is possible or not. It is being done. So cloning in the public eye, that is misconceptions are there. That is, Bush says that cloning human embryos is morally wrong. Okay. So basic research in biotech uses knockout experiments, which are very helpful for learning about the function of a gene. So knockout is created when an active gene is replaced with the DNA that has no functional information. So without a gene present, it may be possible to determine how the gene affects the organism, its function. Aquatic applications are there. Okay. You know that in agriculture, that is aquaculture is a common aquatic application of biotech. Aquaculture is the process of raising finfish or the shellfish is controlled condition for food sources. Transgenic salmon, increased growth rate, disease resistant, vaccine against the viruses that affect aquatic species. And overall, aquatic organisms are thought to be rich and valuable sources for new genes, proteins, and metabolic processes. As the forensic application, you know that the DNA fingerprinting is the classic example of the forensic application. Okay, it was first used in the 1987 to convict a rapist in the England. Okay, for the paternity test also. Okay, the DNA it is been testing is being used. Okay, identifying the human paternity test, endangered species. Okay, then environmental applications. Okay, the bioremediation. Okay, so you know that the bioremediation can be done. Okay, so it is the use of the biotech product to process or degrade a variety of natural and man-made products, especially those contributing to pollution. Environmental biotechnology has become another area of extensive work due to the dangers brought by the increasing levels of environmental pollution. Okay, a lot of hard work is being done to protect our environment in this field. The job of the biotechnologists span from checking industrial air pollution level, treatment of industrial waste, to the recycling of the sewage sludge. So therefore, cleaning up environmental hazards produced by industrial progress is a major application of this type of biotechnology. Okay, you can see that how this animal has changed its color because of the environmental pollution. So there is a strong tie to microbial biotechs. Microbes are helpful for this area. Then the oil spill in 1970s, the first US GMO patent was granted to the scientists for a strain of bacteria capable of degrading composites in a crude oil. So in 1989, Valdez oil spill in Alaska used the pseudomonas. So it was 3 times faster and without increase the environmental effect. The waste management, which is a big issue in India also. So environmental pollution is a major problem. Landfills are becoming full. Old dump sites are creating problem. Waste is piling up. Sewage and chemical disposal is a constant problem, wherein we need to see that the waste is being converted into, by applying the biotechnology, into the useful product. Okay, at present we are able to only concentrate on the bioenergy or the biogas which is produced in the agriculture waste or the home waste. Okay, but rest of the things are not being targeted, and solid waste management is becoming a biggest problem in the rural as well as urban areas, and we need to face this challenge. So genetically altered bacteria are used to feed on oil slicks, and spills bacteria are being developed to decompose or deactivate dioxin. Okay, bacteria are nuclear development to convert solid waste into the sugars and the fuel. Then the biomaterial, the biotechnology is the technology connected with the plant, animal, and also with the human life. For example, the knowledge about the joints, muscles, nerves, ending in our bodies can be combined with engineering to develop an artificial hand. Now I am coming up with the case studies which is being highlighted by us in our forthcoming book of the additive manufacturing and the 3D printing. Okay, and artificial hand is being created, and this is the biomaterial. The one of the biggest advantage for the human life is that it can be customized very easily, and these human made material designed to be placed within the human body are called as the biomaterial. Okay, we see that there are many more problems which is being faced by the human being, like knee pain is there, joint pain is there. So in that case, knee pain or joint pain, maybe for the with the conventional method, customization may require 6 months of time, 1 year of time to study the body structure, to study the knee, and then getting it replaced with the conventional one. So we are trying or exposed to the developing the biomaterial in such a fashion that it can be used for the human being. So transplant organs for the human, that is inadequate supplies of human organs for the transplantation result in more than 25 deaths annually. Okay, so human organs are not available very easily. Nobody comes forward for the donation of the human organs. No such kind of training or awareness of is not there in the country also. In the country like India or almost all over the world, okay, nobody goes for the very few goes for the human organ donation. So therefore, the researchers are studying the ways to develop the organs in the animal suitable to be transplanted into the humans until human organs become available. Okay, so especially promising are the pig organs. So we are trying to researchers are trying to study this particular area and to develop the organ in the animals, and then further it can be transplanted into the humans. Okay, and like that. Okay, this is the photo of a growing human ear error. Okay, a shape made up of the cartilage. So you can see that this particular geometry is being created with the help of the 3D printing. And what we are trying to see that with the help of the biomaterial, the human ear is being grown onto the rat, and once it is being developed, this particular ear will be transplanted to the human being which is not having the ear. So this particular using the biomaterial, developing the biomaterial, using it and growing it in the animal, and then transplanting that product into the human, into the humans. So that process, that research is also still going on, and we are finding out the various ways for that. So this is the bio hand which is being developed, that is knowledge from the joints, muscles, and nerves. You can see in this bio hand which is being developed, that is 5 fingers, the wrist motion are there. So each finger is having the separate movement. It is not like that the wrist is operating and only one movement is given. So each finger is having the separate movement. Each joint is also having the separate movement. So this kind of bio hand is being produced, wherein okay, that it can be controlled or it can be attached to the nervous system, and then like a bio hand, it can be replaced where the persons, those who are not having the hand, and it can be used in the human application. This is what one of the experiment, one of the case studies which we have done for our research work. He is my research candidate who is working in the laboratory of the additive manufacturing and 3D printing at my earlier organization, that is Tulsiramji Gaikwad Patil College of Engineering and Technology. Okay, we have studied this the wrist motion. Okay, so medically what kind of motions are there, okay, how the free is there, what are the degrees of freedom, and accordingly we have come up with the this kind of prosthetic hand which is being created by us on the 3D printing machine. Now the mobile is shown over here just to show you that each finger is having, each joint is having a separate thread which is further controlled by this robot, and each finger, each joint is having a separate motion. So therefore it can hold the mobile phone also as an object in the prosthetic hand. So this is what the case study which we have done with the help of the 3D printing machines, and the biomaterial, its involvement, its development, it is going on in the 3D printing machine. Now the researchers are also trying to prepare a heart out of the biomaterial which can be transplanted into the human being. So applying the biotechnology to the human or the mankind is very essential, is one of the promising applications of the biotechnology which we are trying to explore and which we are trying to develop. So in this case, what we have seen is that this kind of 3D printer was available and some more machines are available, and we have created a prosthetic hand out of that. This is particularly the industrial robot, wherein this is the pick and place robot. Pick and place robot means it can pick up the object and it can place it to the somewhere another coordinate. इसका मतलब ये है कि कोऑर्डिनेट अगर 10 10 10 पे अगर कोई चौक है तो वो प्रोग्रामिंग करके रोबोट का वो क्या करेगा, पहले का जो ग्रिपर था वो उसको दो ही मोशंस थे, वो ग्रिपर जो है वो चॉक को या डस्टर को पिकअप करता था 10 10 10 पॉइंट से। हमें अगर उसके कोऑर्डिनेट एरिया में 50 50 50 XYZ कोऑर्डिनेट इज 50 50 50 वहां पे अगर डस्टर को ड्रॉप करना है, then that duster can be picked up by the robot, industrial robot, from the point number 10 10 10, and it can be placed at the coordinate that is 50 50 50. So this particular action was performed with the help of the industrial robot. What we have seen is that the prosthetic hand which is being created onto this robot, onto this 3D printing machine, it is being made compatible with this robot, industrial robotics, and then we have given the pen into this wrist hand or this prosthetic hand, and we were able to write. Okay, हम जब हाथ से लिखते हैं तो फ्री मूवमेंट चाहिए. ओके, ओनली एक ही उंगली की, एक ही फिंगर की मोशन होके नहीं चलेगा. ओके, वी नीड टू राइट इट कंटिन्यूअसली. व्हेन वी आर साइनिंग इट आल्सो वी नीड टू राइट इट कंटिन्यूअसली. सो ऑल आवर 5 fingers are in motion and they are being coordinated with each other, so that the good handwriting is also being produced. So we have developed in such a fashion that this is the particular product which is being developed, prosthetic hand. It is being developed onto this 3D printing machine. It is being made compatible with the industrial robot, and putting the pen onto the hand of the this particular prosthetic hand and the industrial robot, and making it customized and doing the programming, we are able to achieve the success. We are able to write. So the motions of the robot are being extended, and the prosthetic hand, it is also being used. So novel biomaterial used in the medical 3D printing technique. Okay, that is success of implant depend. This is one of the case study of the laboratory which we have carried out, which I have shown to you. Okay, so success of implant depends on the type of biomaterial used for its fabrication. An ideal implant material should be biocompatible, inert, mechanically durable, and easily moldable. The ability to mold patient-specific implant incorporated with bioactive drugs, cells, and proteins has made 3D printing technology revolutionary in the medical engineering as well as pharmaceutical field. The vast variety of biomaterials are currently being used in the medical 3D printing, including metals, ceramics, polymers, and composites. With continuous research and progress in the biomaterial used in the 3D printing, and there has been a rapid growth in applications of 3D printing in the manufacturing, customized implants, prostheses, and drug delivery devices, and 3D scaffolds for tissue engineering and regenerative medicine. The current review, okay, what I am trying to give you that novel biomaterial used in a variety of 3D printing technologies for the clinical application, and the most common medical technologies, that is 3D fused deposition modeling. Okay, so this is what the implant which is being produced with the help of the additive manufacturing and the 3D printing, and then this is being used, developed with the help of the biomaterial, and it is being it is being applied for the particularly the patient. So customization was fast. Okay, the time required was very less, and very easily we could manufacture this type of product. So this is also the another case study number 2. Okay, so this is the 3D printing technology case study, that is it is used in medicine. Okay, creation of that is unique props in a fast and extremely accurate manner. Okay, changing almost every area of our lives when you expect realism onto the screen, but also science fiction. Okay, so the genetically modified food also. Okay. These are the genetically modified food: strawberry, banana, broccolis, okay, corn, sweet potatoes. So these are the approved biotech products. Okay, first genetically engineered food. Okay, tomato is approved. Okay, in 1994, the approved for the patients undergoing balloon recombinant GM. Okay, 1998 again, Remicade TM approved. Okay, focus of famous biotech product, the insulin. Okay, all of you know that insulin is a hormone and therefore a protein. So insulin was the first hormone identified in 1920s, which won the doctor and the medical student who discovered the Nobel Prize also. Okay, in 1920, the Nobel Prize was given to the Banting and the Pace for discovering the insulin. Okay, so these are all properties of insulin. I am not going into the properties of the insulin. Vocart, okay, that is launches the indigenous human recombinant insulin. Okay, Mr. Khorakiwala, chairman of the Vocart, and Dr. M. Saib, director of the Genomics Biotech Research, at the launch of the human recombinant insulin in Mumbai. Okay, so some of the biotechnology tools in the biotechnology. Okay, okay, heat and drought stresses, salinity, efficiency. Okay, so the challenges and future consideration in realizing the global potential of the agriculture biotechnology. Okay, so what are the challenges? That is there is a need to develop technologies that complement existing farming systems, okay, and native crops to provide them at affordable prices and that are safe for humans and the environment. So in the agriculture biotechnology, that is diverse farming system, native crops and local needs, orphan crops, okay, weeds and labor, affordability is one of the issue. Okay, affordable is required. Okay, whenever the GMO products is being developed, it should be affordable, under the affordable limit. Then only farmers will cultivate, otherwise they will not cultivate. Determining the priorities for the biotechnology, that is national leaders often need to make decisions about priorities with limited financial resources. So determining the research need which is being required, resource limitations and the priorities. Resources are limited, human manpower resources, human resources are also limited. Other resources, technology resources are also limited. So engaging the citizenry, that is public participatory mechanisms are needed to gauge the needs and to address the concern. Okay, transparent decision making process is not there. Okay, processes for public participation, farmer participation, cultural and religious issues are there. Biotechnology and the long-term public interest is required. So this is the challenge 3. Challenge 4, that is budding scientific and local capacity, that is investment is needed to build and strengthen national scientific expertise in developing countries. Okay. Then developing a sustainable partnership. Partnerships can be vital in stimulating research in resource poor countries, but it is important to recognize the goals of each partner. Then engaging the global dialogue on agreements and protocol, that is scientists and the lawyers in developing nations need to participate in the discussions and negotiation about biodiversity, biosafety, trade and intellectual property. Okay, resolving trade issues, protecting proprietary research, anticipating future needs and direction. Okay, what we need, okay, that is researchers and decision makers need to anticipate changes that will affect agriculture production and consumer demand. Okay, we know that at present only our focus, or the private players are focused on producing the cotton only, having the GM cotton. Okay, but at the same time, okay, we need to have the diverse farming. In that case, we need to focus on the many areas. Okay, climate change, increased meat demand. Okay, naturally some ethical issues will be there along with these challenges. So Indian government has set up an organization, that is GEAC. Okay, we have seen that during our presentation, that is Genetic Engineering Approval Committee is there, which will make decisions regarding the validity of the GM research and the safety of introducing GM organism for the public services. The modification usage of the living organism for public services as food and medicine sources has also created problems with the patent. Okay, even though the patent is filed, but the research is not being implemented in the farming, or it is not being cultivated. So unpredictable results are there when such organisms are introduced into the ecosystem. So use of the genetic material, plants and biological resources by companies granted with patent has triggered and public anger, since they have been identified, developed and the used by farmers and peoples with the specific country. This, you know, that the basmati rice patent was under the controversy. Okay. So over 22 lakh varieties of rice is found in India, which India makes richest. So basmati rice is one type of the rice with a unique aroma and flavor, and there are 27 documented varieties of basmati grown in India. So in 1997, American company got a patent rights on basmati rice through US Patent and Trademark Office. So this will allow the company to sell a new variety of basmati in the US and abroad. Okay, so basically this new variety of basmati had actually been derived by crossing with Swami-Dorf varieties and claimed as an invention of a novelty. So patent extend to functional equivalents, implying that other people selling basmati rice could be restricted by the patent. Okay. So these are all these. Okay. Several attempts have also been made to patent uses, product and processes based on Indian traditional and herbal medicines. Turmeric, neem. In the first lecture, we have discussed that how we have, as India, fought for the patent of the turmeric. Okay. So therefore, it is said that we should be vigilant and counter these patent applications, else other countries' individual may encash on our rich legacy and we may not be able to do anything. So therefore, the teachers like us, the researchers like us, they should be vigilant and counter these patent applications and try to work in the biotechnology. Okay, biopiracy, it is going on. So we have to stop the patenting mafia. Okay. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Okay. Thanks a lot. Okay. So I would like to just show you the books in which these case studies are being prepared, are being included. So this is basically the book from which I have taken the case studies. This is my own book, that is additive manufacturing and the 3D printing technology principles and applications, which is being authored by us. Okay, for the CRC Press, Taylor and Francis Group. Okay, booking of this book is going on the Amazon. You will find it on the Amazon. So additive manufacturing and the 3D printing technology. Okay, wherein this person researcher has appeared on the screen page, means the first page of the front page of the book, also cover page of the book. Okay, Mr. Mukul Pandey, and this is the shown which I have shown to you, that is developing the prosthetic hand with the help of the biomaterial and customizing it with the industrial robot. Okay. So thank you very much. This is another book which I have authored, that is Automotive System Principles and Practice, again for the CRC Press, Taylor and Francis Group. And this book will be also released on the 26th of January 2021. The first book will be released on the 18th of Feb 2021. And this is in the January, the project which we have initiated long back, means in 2018 we have started with this project. So thank you very much. Thanks for the patience listening. And over to Abhijit.
Thank you very much, sir, for conducting such a wonderful session. Before we would conclude, in case if there are any queries, then they are welcome. Well, then I suppose, sir, that there are no more queries.
Thank
So,
you very
sir,
much.
on behalf
From the Yash College of Education, Roorkee, Rohtak, Haryana. Okay. And the Shravan Kumar Singh. Okay. Ravi Birthday. So thank you very much for the appreciation. Okay. So if you have any queries, you can even write to me on my email ID, gkavari@gmail.com, or my phone number is also available, 9922 966 173. So over to Abhijit. Juhi is also there. May I know, Juhi, you are from which college?
Sir, I am from BIT College, Ballarpur.
Okay, very good. Which discipline, Juhi? You are from which discipline?
I am from Food Tech Department.
Oh, very good. Food technology.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sakshi Khapne is also there. May I know who is? She is from which college?
She is also from BIT College and same stream.
Okay, food technology only.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay, over to Abhijit.
Okay, sir. So, sir, thank you very much for conducting such a wonderful session, for taking out time out of your busy schedule. It was, well, we must say that we had a fresh perspective, because from one of the most successful administrators of educational industry, reflecting upon the global challenges and the future of biotechnology. I must say it was a really wonderful session. Thank you very much, sir, for conducting such an in-depth and wonderful session. So on behalf of Ballarpur Institute of Technology and on behalf of the organizing committee of this short-term training program, I extend our heartfelt gratitude for conducting such a wonderful session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Now to all the attending members, the feedback link to submit your feedback will be shared shortly on the WhatsApp group, and you are all requested to please fill in the feedback before 11 p.m. tonight, post which the link will cease to exist. Okay, it will cease to accept any responses. That is the reason you are requested to fill in the feedback before 11 p.m. tonight. and the link will be shared shortly on WhatsApp group. This is where we will take a short break and then we will resume our session at 2:30 p.m. Please do not miss that session. That session will be conducted by Dr. Sameer Deshmukh sir, who happens to be professor in Lakshmi Narayan Institute of Technology, Nagpur, which is one of the most renowned institutes for chemical engineering in entire Asia. So he will be conducting the session at from 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. To join that session, you can use the very same link which you have used right now. So we will take a short recess from now to 2:30 p.m., which is around 45 minutes, and then we will resume the session at 2:30 p.m. You are all requested to join us back by 2:15 p.m. That is 2:15. Please join us back by 2:15 so that we will be able to start the session at 2:30 p.m. sharp. So thank you very much for attending the session. And in case if you wish, you can still stay in the meeting, or if you wish, you can disconnect and then connect back at 2:30 p.m. Thank you so much.